RRB Special Budget. Get ready. Start. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have the honor to present the railway estimates for the year 1952-53 for the consideration of this House. In doing so, I am only conscious of my limitations, particularly those imposed by the time factor. I have had very little time for preparing myself for the presentation of the budget. I am, however, fortunate in as much as that the estimates for the year were considered and reviewed by my able predecessor Sri Gopalaswamy Iyengar before their presentation to the Parliament in the month of February. I am sure the House will join with me in paying a tribute to him for his sound common sense, vision, and imagination in putting through comprehensive financial and administrative reforms, the effect of which is being progressively reflected in the improvements visible all round in the management and operation of the Indian Railways. I do not wish to inflict a long speech. It is hardly necessary. My predecessor had recounted only in February this year the salient features of the financial administration of the railways during the current year as anticipated in the budget estimates. He had also reviewed the other major aspects of railway operations. The white paper, which was then presented, gave a review of the development of rail transport in India, the diverse problems which the railways have had to contend with, and the plans which have been initiated to resolve them to enable the Indian Railways to fulfill their appropriate role in the economy of New India. The budget papers circulated to the members deal in detail with all aspects of railway operation and administration, and in particular the financial commissioner's explanatory memorandum, as now revised, summarizes the whole position. I shall therefore confine my observations to the two or three major developments since the presentation of the estimates in February. As the members are aware, the process of integration of Indian Railways and the formation of the six administrative zones was completed on April 14 last, with the inauguration in Delhi of the Northern, Northeastern and Eastern Railways by the Prime Minister. The scheme for welding together the numerous railway systems in India to form one coordinated railway system, divided into an adequate number of major zonal administrative units on the basic consideration of administrative and operational efficiency, as also of ultimate economy, had received general support in the country, and the formation of the southern, western, and central zones was welcomed by the states' governments, trade and industry, labor, and the public. It is a matter of some regret that the last phase of this administrative reform, namely the formation of the remaining three zones, should have occasioned bitter controversy, sometimes acrimonious in certain quarters. In completing the integration of railways in the northern and eastern sectors of India, the Railway Ministry have naturally endeavoured to secure the greatest measure of agreement from the states governments concerned and the trade and industry of these states. Keeping all the time in view the paramount needs of administrative and operational efficiency, when the Railway Ministry's tentative plan was circulated in January 1952, various suggestions were received from the states governments concerned to suit their individual peculiar needs and the requirements of trading and commercial interests in their states. These suggestions were conflicting and not susceptible wholly of reconciliation. The concern of government was to evolve a plan which, while giving due and appropriate consideration to these representations, would not merely maintain but improve the operational efficiency and further preserve the basic principles of regrouping with the economic affinity of contiguous regions and the natural flow of traffic. Any plan which places the overall needs of the country and the community above all other considerations must necessarily conflict with some purely local or regional preferences and sentiments while synchronizing with those of some others. I am confident that I am voicing the feelings of all the sections of this House that the people of this young republic today are capable of rising above narrow parochial and provincial sentiments and prejudices in the larger interests of the unity, solidarity, and prosperity of the nation as a whole. I regret the and deplore the suggestion, therefore, that we have sacrificed efficiency, economy, and the principles of integration on political and provincial considerations. Ample justification for the decision taken has already been afforded. I trust the House will bear with me if I were to restate some of them, perhaps in a slightly different form. The North Eastern Railway, as now constituted by the amalgamation of the old OT and Assam Railways, is purely a meter gauge system, and there can be no question of locating its headquarters at any station other than one on the meter gauge system. Once this position is considered, as it indeed must be, the only other major issue on which there was a difference of opinion was the inclusion of the Allahabad division in the northern zone. In connection with the retention of the Allahabad division in the eastern zone, a great deal has been said in the press and in the various memoranda received by the Railway Board during the last few weeks, allegedly based on opinions like those of the Westwood and Kunjru committees in arriving at the decision that the Allahabad division should be integrated with the Northern Railway. Government naturally gave the fullest and the most careful consideration to all such opinions to the extent of their validity in the altered conditions prevailing today. The case for the retention of the Allahabad and Lucknow divisions, and perhaps also the Moradabad division with the Eastern Railway, was urged by some primarily to facilitate the provision of an adequate number of empties to the coalfields